Hey everyone, welcome back to English Podcast with Zico.
And Sarah, we're so happy you're here with us today.
If you want to improve your English without stress or boring lessons,
You're in exactly the right place.
in this episode, we've got something super practical for your everyday English.
So put on your headphones, relax.
And let's get started.
Podcast with Zico.
And Sarah, we're so glad to have you with us today.
Absolutely. Today we're diving into a pretty huge topic, something I think everyone thinks about at some point.
It's a big one. We're talking about how to change your life.
Right. And that sounds so dramatic, doesn't it? Change your life, like you have to pack a bag and move to a new country tomorrow.
Exactly. Or become a completely different person overnight. But that's not really what we're going to talk about, is it?
Not at all. We're going to break it down and make it feel, actually possible. So stick around.
Okay, so let's just jump right in. I think when people hear life change, they immediately think of like a New Year's resolution.
Oh, totally. The classic, I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week and eat only salads from now on.
Yes. And what happens like 99% of the time?
You last for 3 days, maybe a week if you're really motivated.
Right. And then you feel like a failure. You feel like, oh, I can't even stick to this one thing. I guess I just can't change.
Yeah, that's such a common feeling. It's this all or nothing mindset. We set the bar so incredibly high that we're almost like setting ourselves up to fail from the very beginning.
Exactly. It's overwhelming. Your brain just sees this massive, impossible mountain to climb, and it panics. It prefers what's familiar, even if what's familiar isn't making us happy.
That makes so much sense. The comfort zone.
So the first step to changing your life is kind of forgetting the idea of a massive, sudden change.
Okay, so if we're not making these huge, drastic changes, what's the alternative? What do we do instead?
This is my favorite part. We focus on the ridiculously small, the tiny, almost insignificant seeming actions.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Give me an example.
All right, let's say you want to start exercising. The big change idea is to go for a 1-hour run every day.
Right, sounds exhausting already.
Totally. But the tiny habit approach would be just put on your running shoes.
That's it? Just put on the shoes?
That's it. That's the goal for the day. Can you do that? Of course you can. It takes 30 seconds. There's no reason to say no.
Huh. And I guess once the shoes are on, you're more likely to, actually go outside. Maybe for just a 5-minute walk.
Precisely. You make the first step so easy, it's impossible not to do it. It's about building momentum, not about reaching the finish line on day one.
I love that. It's like instead of saying, I'm going to write a novel, you say, I'm going to write one sentence.
Yes, or even just open the document.
Open the document. Right. It removes all that pressure and that fear of the blank page.
It tricks your brain. You're not trying to do this scary, huge thing. You're just doing this tiny, manageable thing. And then another, and over time, those tiny things, they compound into something huge.
It's the compound effect. I've read about that. It's like 1% better every day. It doesn't feel like much in the moment, but after a year, the change is massive.
That's the magic right there. It's not about one giant leap. It's about hundreds of tiny steps.
Okay, so this tiny habits idea is great. It feels accessible. But how do you even decide what to change? Sometimes life feels so chaotic, you don't even know where to start.
That's a really good point. It can be paralyzing. I think a good starting point is to just sit down for 5 minutes and ask yourself, what's one area of my life that causes me a little bit of stress or frustration every day?
Okay, so maybe it's always rushing in the morning.
Perfect example. It's not this huge, I hate my life problem, but it's a daily friction point. It sets a bad tone for the rest of the day.
Yeah, totally.
So now we apply the tiny habit idea. What's a ridiculously small thing you could do to make your mornings less rushed?
Well, the big goal would be wake up an hour earlier, which I'm not doing.
Nope, that's the old way of thinking. Too big. Smaller.
Maybe lay out my clothes the night before?
There you go. That's it. That takes what, 2 minutes? But it saves you 5 or 10 minutes of decision-making stress in the morning.
Yeah, okay, I see. Or what about making my coffee the night before so I just have to press a button?
Even better. The key is to be super specific. Be more organized in the morning is a wish. Put my keys in the bowl by the door as soon as I get home is an action. It's a tiny, specific habit.
So the formula is kind of identify a small friction point and then create a super specific tiny action to address it.
You got it. Don't try to solve everything at once. Pick one thing, just one. Master that tiny habit until it's automatic, and only then, maybe, add another one.
Wow, this actually makes the idea of changing your life feel so much less intimidating.
Right? It brings it down from this abstract, scary concept to something you can literally start doing in the next 5 minutes.
So to sum it all up for everyone listening, the secret isn't some grand gesture. It's about ignoring the pressure to do everything at once.
And instead, focusing on one ridiculously small, specific action, something so easy you can't say no.
Like putting on your running shoes, or laying out your clothes, or writing one single sentence.
Exactly. Because those tiny wins build momentum, and that momentum is what creates real, lasting change over time.
I love it. So for everyone listening, what's your one tiny habit going to be? You don't have to tell us. Just think about it, and maybe just do it today.
A perfect way to end it. Well, that's all the time we have for today.
Okay, so number 1 on our list is reading. Specifically, read every single day.
Oh, a classic. But it's a classic for a reason, right?
Totally. It doesn't have to be like a whole novel. It could be an article, a chapter of a book, even just a few pages. The idea is just consistency.
Right. And it's not just about learning new things. It's like a workout for your brain. It expands your vocabulary, improves focus, and it's a great way to unwind. I mean, instead of scrolling on your phone before bed.
That's the big one for me. Putting the phone away and picking up a book. It's hard, but it makes a huge difference. And it doesn't just have to be nonfiction or self-help books. Reading fiction is incredibly powerful too. It builds empathy by letting you see the world through someone else's eyes.
Okay, so moving on to tip number 2, and this one is a bit close to home for our podcast, learn a new language. That's a great point. It's like a mini vacation for your mind, escapism, but in a productive way.
You know we had to put that one in.
Of course, but it's true. Learning a language, it literally rewires your brain. It improves your memory, your problem-solving skills.
And your ability to connect with people from different cultures. I mean, that's a huge part of why we do this podcast. It opens up the world.
Exactly. It doesn't mean you have to become fluent overnight. Just, learning a few phrases, using an app for 10 minutes a day. It all counts.
All right, tip number 3 is to pick up a new hobby, something that isn't related to your work.
Ooh, I love this one.
Yeah, it's about having something that's just for you, for fun. I tried learning the guitar last year. I was terrible, absolutely terrible.
Were you really?
Awful, but it was fun. It was just this thing I did where I didn't have to be good at it, It's about the process, not the result.
That's such a good point. It could be anything. Painting, hiking, coding, baking, anything that gets you into that flow state. Okay, number 4 is a bit more internal. It's about practicing gratitude.
Right, the gratitude journal thing.
Yeah, exactly. Or just, taking a moment each day to think of 3 things you're grateful for. It sounds kind of cheesy, I know.
It does a little, yeah.
But the science behind it is solid. It genuinely shifts your perspective from what you lack to what you have. It can reduce stress and just make you happier.
No, I get it. Even if it's something small, like I'm grateful for this really good cup of coffee I'm having right now.
Totally, that's perfect.
All right, Number 5, we have to say it. Get regular exercise.
The one everyone knows they should do.
Yep, but we're not saying you have to become a marathon runner. It's just about moving your body.
Right, it's not about punishment, it's about celebrating what your body can do. Go for a walk, dance around your living room, do some stretching. The mental health benefits are, they're just as huge as the physical ones.
Oh, for sure. Endorphins are real, people.
Okay, tip 6 is set clear goals. And I don't mean vague things like be healthier.
Yeah, like what does that even mean?
Exactly. It's about being specific, like I will walk for 30 minutes 3 times a week, or I will read 10 pages of a book every night. It gives you something concrete to work towards.
It gives you a roadmap. Otherwise, you're just sort of drifting and you can't really track your progress. Small wins, right? They build momentum. Number 7, meditate or practice mindfulness. Now, I'll be honest, I find this one really hard. My brain just does not want to shut up.
I think that's everyone's experience at first. That's kind of the point.
Really?
Yeah, meditation isn't about having an empty mind. It's about noticing when your mind has wandered and then gently bringing it back. It's a practice, and you don't have to sit for an hour. Just try 1 minute, seriously. Just focus on your breath for 60 seconds.
1 minute. Okay, maybe I can handle 1 minute.
Okay, number 8 is maybe the simplest one on the entire list.
Let me guess. Drink more water?
You got it. Drink more water. So many of us are just mildly dehydrated all day long, and we don't even realize it. It affects your energy, your focus, your skin, everything.
It's true. Sometimes when I feel tired or have a headache, I realize I've just not had any water, just coffee.
The classic coffee trap. Yeah, just keeping a water bottle on your desk can make a huge difference.
Okay, we're almost there. Number 9 is to disconnect. Specifically, take regular breaks from social media.
Oh, this is a big one, a really big one.
It is. The constant comparison, the noise, it can really mess with your mental health. Scheduling time away from it, like no phone for the first hour of the day, can be incredibly freeing.
That comparison is the thief of joy quote is so true, especially with social media. A digital detox, even just for a weekend, can feel like a total reset. And that brings us to our final tip, number 10, and maybe the most important, get enough sleep.
Yes, the foundation for everything else.
It really is. You can have all the best intentions, but if you're sleep deprived, you won't have the energy or the mental clarity to do any of this other stuff. It affects your mood, your decisions, your health.
Everything. It's not a luxury, it's a biological necessity. It's like you wouldn't try to drive your car without gas. Don't try to run your life without sleep.
What a perfect analogy.
So there you have it, 10 tips for self-improvement. Read, learn a language, get a hobby, practice gratitude.
Exercise, set goals, meditate, drink water, disconnect, and sleep.
Whew, it sounds like a lot when you list them all out.
It does, but you don't have to do them all at once. Just pick one, just one thing to focus on for a while.
That's great advice. So what do you all think? Do you have any self-improvement tips that have worked for you? Let us know.
We'd love to hear them.
So, Sarah, let me ask you, have you ever studied a language, in a traditional way with textbooks and classes, and just felt stuck?
Oh, 100%. In high school, I took French for years, and it was all about memorizing these long lists of vocabulary and, the verb conjugation tables.
The classic verb tables. Yes.
Exactly. And I could do really well on the tests, I could fill in the blanks perfectly. But then if I ever had a chance to speak with a native French speaker, my mind would just go completely blank.
That is the exact feeling we're talking about. It's the problem with the student mindset.
The student mindset.
Yeah.
We think that learning a language is like collecting stamps. If I just collect enough vocabulary stamps and enough grammar rule stamps, I'll suddenly be able to speak.
Right, like it's a puzzle you have to solve before you can use it.
Exactly. It's the difference between knowing about a language and actually using a language. Studying often focuses on the knowing about part, but fluency lives in the using part.
That makes total sense. You're not trying to become a linguist, you're trying to communicate with people.
Precisely. So this leads us to the big idea for today. It's this concept of language acquisition versus language learning.
Okay, that sounds a little academic. Break it down for us.
It's simpler than it sounds, I promise. Learning is the conscious process. It's the grammar rules, the flashcards, what we do in a classroom.
Right, studying.
Acquisition, on the other hand, is subconscious. It's how a child learns to speak their first language. They don't study verb tenses, they just hear it and absorb it and start to use it.
Ah, okay. Because they're just surrounded by the language all day, every day. It's just everywhere. So your advice is for us to become babies again.
Haha, not exactly. But we can try to copy that immersive environment. And that is our very first and maybe most important piece of advice in the do this instead category. You need to immerse yourself.
Okay, so how do we do that if we don't live in an English-speaking country?
Well, the easiest place to start is your digital world, your phone. Change the language setting on your phone to English.
Ooh, that's a bold move. I've tried that. The first few days are confusing, but then it becomes normal really fast.
It does, and it forces you to learn words you use every day, like settings or contacts. Then do the same with your social media. Follow accounts, creators, and news pages that post in English.
I love that tip. And make sure it's stuff you're actually interested in. If you love baking, follow English-speaking bakers. If you're into tech, follow tech reviewers.
And don't stop with social media. Think about your entertainment. What music do you listen to? Try finding some English artists in your favorite genre. Your daily commute can become a listening lesson just by changing your playlist. Yes, that is so important. If you're bored, you'll stop. It has to be fun. Which brings us to the next point. Consume lots and lots of comprehensible input.
That's so true. I started listening to English language podcasts about topics I already love, like history and true crime. It doesn't even feel like learning because I'm just so engaged in the story. You absorb vocabulary and sentence structures without even trying. There's another one of those technical terms.
Exactly. It's about creating an English bubble around yourself. Even changing your grocery list into English or the labels on your kitchen jars. Small, consistent touches that make English a normal part of your environment, not a separate, scary subject. I know, but it just means finding things to read and listen to that are at the right level for you. You should be able to understand most of it, maybe like 80 or 90%.
It really sounds like you're tricking your brain into acquiring the language passively just by living your life. You're lowering the barrier to entry. So you're not supposed to jump from beginner to watching a complex political drama on TV.
That's the goal. You remove the friction of, I need to sit down and study now, and replace it with a constant low-leveled exposure that feels natural, and most importantly, sustainable. Please don't. You'll just get frustrated. Instead, find things designed for learners, like our podcast, or watch a kids show. Seriously, shows for children use simpler language and speak more clearly.
That's a great tip. Or even watching a movie you already know really well, but this time with English audio. You already know the story, so you can focus on the language.
Perfect example. The key is volume and consistency, a little bit every day. You're basically creating that immersive environment for your brain to naturally acquire the language instead of trying to force it in with a textbook.
Okay, so we're immersing ourselves, we're listening, we're reading, but Zico, at some point you have to actually speak, right? And that's the scariest part for most people. I think there's a really important point in there about consistency, and that links directly to something that stops so many people: motivation and mindset. We can have all the best immersion techniques, but if we're afraid to try or we give up after a month, it doesn't matter.
It is, and this is the most important part of the do this instead philosophy. You have to turn all that passive input into active output. You have to make some noise. Absolutely. This is perhaps the biggest, most unspoken hurdle. I'm talking about the fear of making mistakes. In a traditional classroom, you get a red mark for a mistake. It's treated as a failure. But in real language acquisition, mistakes are not just okay, they are essential. They are signposts showing you where you need to grow.
So, what's the first step? How do we start making noise without feeling terrified?
I always tell my students, you have to give yourself permission to sound silly. You will use the wrong word, you will forget a grammar rule in the middle of a sentence, you will have a strange accent at first. Nobody cares as much as you do. Honestly, most native speakers are just happy and impressed that you're trying to speak their language.
All right, my favorite tip, and it's going to sound a little silly, is talk to yourself. That's such a crucial point. We need to shift our goal. Instead of aiming for a perfect sentence, aim for a successful communication. Did the other person understand your meaning? Great, that's a huge win. You need to celebrate that instead of focusing on the small error you made.
Okay, I was expecting that. So, how do you suggest people stay motivated when they hit the inevitable plateau? You know, that feeling when you've been learning for a while, but feel like you're just not getting any better.
But I'm serious. It is the ultimate low-pressure practice. When you're cooking dinner, just narrate what you're doing out loud in English. Okay, now I am chopping the onions. I am going to put them in the pan. Plateaus are a sign of consolidation. Your brain is just organizing all the new information. The key is to change things up. If you've only been watching TV shows, try reading a simple book or a news article. If you've only been doing listening, try a speaking challenge, even just with yourself. Variety is key.
I have to confess, I totally do this already. I just thought it was a weird habit, but it's actually a learning technique. And tracking your progress, right?
It is. You're activating vocabulary, forming sentences, and practicing pronunciation with zero fear of making a mistake. No one is listening. Yes, definitely. Go back and listen to a voice memo you recorded 6 months ago, or reread a short story that you found difficult before. You will be amazed at how far you've come. That feeling is the best motivation there is.
I feel so much better about that now. Okay, so after we've mastered talking to ourselves, what's next? That's fantastic advice. It's about playing the long game and being kind to yourself in the process. Language learning is a marathon, not a sprint.
Use the technology you already have. Take out your phone and open the Voice Memo app. At the end of the day, record a 1-minute summary of what you did in English.
Oh, that's a good one. You don't have to send it to anyone.
Nope, just for you. Listen back to it. You'll start to notice where you hesitate or which words you're missing. It's like a private speaking journal.
And from there, you could maybe find a language exchange partner on an app and start sending voice notes to them. It's still less pressure than a live call.
Exactly. It's about building up in small steps. Okay, and the final technique for active practice, it's called shadowing. And when you do find the partner on an app like HelloTalk or Tandem, it's a good idea to be proactive. Don't just say, "Hi." Be specific. You can say, "Hi, I'm Zico. I'm learning English and I can help you with your native language. Could we practice by sending 1-minute voice notes about our day?"
Shadowing, like following someone? That's a great way to start. It gives the exchange a clear purpose and manages expectations. What about when you feel ready to move on to live calls? That's another level of scary for a lot of people.
In a way, yes. You're following their voice. You listen to a short audio clip of a native speaker and you try to repeat it at the exact same time as them. You mimic their pronunciation, their intonation, the rhythm of their speech. Everything. So again, add structure to reduce the fear. Don't just have a vague "let's talk" call. That's too much pressure. Instead, prepare a small topic. You could agree to both watch the same short YouTube video and then discuss it for just 10 minutes.
Oh, wow. That sounds challenging, but amazing for your accent. Or even easier, you could both read the same short news article and share your opinions. Having a plan removes the pressure of having to think of something to say on the spot. You're just focusing on one small, manageable task.
It is. It's like physical exercise for your mouth. You are training the muscles of your tongue and lips to produce English sounds more naturally. It builds fluency from a physical level, not just a mental one. Exactly. And it's okay if the first few calls are a little awkward. It gets easier with practice, just like anything else. The goal isn't a perfect flowing conversation on day one. The goal is to show up, say some things in English, and survive. The flow comes later.
So I think that brings us to the end. The main message here isn't that textbooks and grammar are evil.
Right. Sometimes you really do need to look up a rule or check a definition, and that's perfectly fine. They are tools.
Exactly. But they shouldn't be the main event. The focus needs to shift from passive studying to active using and acquiring.
So let's do a super quick recap of the do this instead tips.
Let's do it. Number 1, immerse yourself, starting with your digital world.
Number 2, consume tons of interesting and comprehensible input.
Start making noise. Talk to yourself. It's officially approved by us.
Haha, yes. Number 4, use voice memos and other tech to practice output.
And number 5, try shadowing to improve your pronunciation and flow.
It's all about making English a part of your life, not just a subject you study. The goal is communication, not perfection.
Couldn't have said it better. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for tuning in to the English Podcast with Zico.
We challenge you to try just one of these tips this week. Let us know how it goes on our social media.
That takes some of the pressure off.
It does. And then you just share your name and the most relevant details for that context. So in a business meeting, hello everyone, I'm Sarah, and I'm the lead designer on this project. In a yoga class, hi, I'm Sarah. This is my first time trying hot yoga.
So you keep it brief and relevant to why everyone is in that room together.
Precisely. No need to tell your whole life story, just your name and your reason for being there.
Wow, okay, we've covered a lot of ground, from the basic hello to the dreaded group intro.
We have. I think the biggest takeaway, the final note on all of this, is that introducing yourself is a skill. It's a communication skill. It's not just about grammar or vocabulary.
Right, it's about being aware of the context, aware of your audience, and aware of your goal. Are you there to network, or are you there to make a new friend?
And like any skill, the only way to get better is to practice.
That's it, you have to do it. It'll feel awkward at first, but the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. Your confidence grows, your fluency improves, and before you know it, you're introducing yourself like a pro.
A fantastic summary, Zico.
Well, that is just about all the time we have for today. Hopefully, this has given you all some confidence and some practical tools to use the next time you have to talk about yourself in English.
Yes, our homework for all of you listening is to go out there and introduce yourself to someone new. You can do it.
A great call to action. Thank you so much for listening to English Podcasts with Zico. You can find us on all the major podcast platforms, and don't forget to follow us on social media for more tips and tricks. And tell us in the comments, what part of introducing yourself feels hardest for you?
We read everything, and your answers shape the next episodes. If this episode helped you even a little, subscribe and stay with us. It was great talking to you all. See you next time.
Bye for now.